productivity. What does it mean to you? That's the first thing I want you to do when it comes to productivity as a music teacher. I want you to define what it actually means to you, because that's what's most important. I'm going to be giving you 6 different tips here about how to improve your productivity as a piano teacher, but this is the number one. It's about definitions, actually. What is productive? Because the biggest trap in productivity is to try and make yourself more productive without first defining what it means to be done, right? There has to be a point at which you say, I am now productive. I am as productive as I want to be. I am as efficient as I want to be. I am finished for today. If you don't set that bar, you'll never reach it, because there's always a way to be more productive. And you don't work on a factory line. There isn't a maximum number of widgets that you can produce in an hour. You're not trying to hit a target to get a bonus. You're trying to balance your life. You're trying to be productive so that you can save time to go ice skating or bake cookies or just sit on your bum. Whatever it is that you want to do, you need to define what productive looks like for you. So you need to define what you want to get done in your studio, what creative projects you want to have going on, how much time you want for each of those things. And you could define it as being the largest amount of time, as in, I want to save time for this creative project. I want to have at least 5 hours a week to work on this fun thing. Or you could define it as, I want to spend a maximum of 2 hours per week on my office admin, and make yourself productive in that way. But if you don't have a definition, you won't have a destination. You won't get to anywhere because you don't know where you're going. It's that old trick, right? If you don't have a destination in mind, you're just meandering around the forest. And sometimes that's fun. But when it comes to being productive and running a business, it's pointless. You're just walking in circles, endlessly feeling busy, busy, busy. Tip number 2 is about your email. And I really want you to sign up for the Inbox Zen challenge if you are watching this just after it comes out, because email is one of the biggest time sucks. And actually, we all think we get so much email, and we kind of do. I mean, I get an enormous amount of email, I really do. And I'm sure you do too. But sometimes I think we overestimate it. We need some email ointment to smooth out our email, to say, calm down. And that's what Inbox Zen is going to be all about. But if you want an even shorter tip than that, just don't check it as often. And when you do check it, reply to everyone straight away, or at least most of everyone. As soon as you open an email and say to yourself, I know the answer to this. I know what to say to this person. Just write it. This is the biggest trap I fall into with email. I open it and I say, and then I'll think about that, and then I close it and I put it aside. But if I just replied to it right there and then, it would have been fine. My reply would have been fine. There was nothing extra to think about. I just closed it for no reason, basically. And put a star on it. Does anyone else do that? Put a lovely little star on it. Let's just collect starred emails. No, stop collecting starred emails. Start replying to them right away. If it's going to take you less than a minute to reply to something, just reply and move on. So much easier. Tip number 3 is about comparisonitis. There was an extra T in there. Comparisonitis. I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of FOMO, fear of missing out. And then there's its opposite, JOMO, joy of missing out. I don't particularly like either of those terms, but what I do want you to think about is the idea of comparisonitis, because there's this huge trap that we fall into as teachers. And the trap is thinking that everyone is doing all of the things that we're seeing. I mean, you don't really think this, but kind of, if you really examine your own thought process, you see my blog and someone else's and Pinterest and YouTube channels and Facebook comments, and you kind of put them all together as if one person is doing all of those things. Do any of you do this? Let me know if you do. I think a lot of us do. We put all these things together into one amorphous blob of teacher goodness, and then we never live up to it. Because the truth is, those were done by all of these different people, and we're one person. We can't do all those things, and we shouldn't. If we did all of the practice incentives and all of the different things, our students would be horribly overwhelmed, wouldn't they? I don't think that'd be a good experience whatsoever. So we need to zone in on our students, us and our students. What do you want for your studio? What is good for your students that you actually have? Focus on that. Yes, Laurie, comparison is the thief of joy. Focus on the things that actually are going to serve you and your students, and that are actually going to serve your mission as a teacher, or your, whatever you want to call it, your theme of your studio. What is going to push you towards that? What is your goal as a teacher? Who do you want to teach, and why do you want to teach them, and what do you want to teach them? And if you're moving in that direction, if your lessons are becoming more fun, more engaging, if you're reaching more students with special needs, if you're, whatever you want to do, if you're achieving that, then everything else can just go away, can't it? We can just let it fade away, melt away like snowflakes, right? Avoid the comparisonitis and you will go so much further with your students. Tip number 4, to help you on this beginning of this road towards more productivity, is about having a shutdown ritual. This is a bit of a weird one, but bear with me. The idea is that you have a point at which you actually start work and a point at which you stop work. And the best way to actually have that definition, if you're working from home, is to have a ritual, a habit that you do that means my workday is over. I originally heard about this from someone who actually literally shuts down all the things and says, "Shutdown complete," out loud to himself. Now fine, if that's too silly for you, it's definitely not too silly for me. But if it's too silly for you, I get it, okay? But if you're not going to do that, have something that you do that says the workday is over, now it's the evening. Or I'm finished my personal stuff, now it's my workday is starting. And that doesn't mean you don't take breaks in your workday, we'll talk about that in a second. But saying it's finished is really important to keep you productive. Because part of being productive is having that good life balance and is having enough brain power left. You can't be productive if you're burned out. You're just going to be spinning your wheels and getting less and less productive, and therefore spending more and more time trying to be productive. Doesn't sound like a good cycle to get stuck in, does it? I'm sure many of us have been in that position though. So having that shutdown ritual is a great one. I want to make one more suggestion of what it might be, which I just heard this morning, which is someone who actually commutes to work. He started working from home several years ago, and he was so used to going into an office. I was never very used to going to the office. I only worked in an office for a year of my life. But if you are someone who's used to having a commute to somewhere, be it to a studio or another job that you used to do, going out and taking a walk around the block and coming back into your house is a hilarious but useful way to have a commute to work. This is what he does. He leaves the house, he walks around, and he comes back in, and then it's the work day. And then he leaves the house again at the end of the day and walks around the block again. It also gets you more exercise, gets you out in nature, right? At least outside, if you're in an urban environment. And then he comes back in, and it's the end of the workday because he's commuted home. Let me know if you like that idea. I think it's fun, and I think it could really work. Second last one, number 5, is to take breaks. Oh my gosh, take some breaks, and especially right now. If you are currently teaching online, you need to take breaks in your day. I discovered this early on in my online lesson experience, where I was my brain was on fire. That's what was happening. That's what it felt like. My brain was literally exploding back in March, and I realized I had to go out for a walk every day. And I'm someone that likes walking, but I wouldn't have done that in the middle of my workday in general. I had just gone out and walked around the park. But I had to, because I had so much screen time still ahead of me. Whereas before I would have had office time and then teaching time, which is mostly analog, right? It was at pianos, it wasn't on a screen, and I was looking at real people. But once everything was on a screen, I felt this absolutely to be a necessity, and I think it's beneficial either way. Get out in the middle of the day or in the middle of your work day and go for a walk. You will be so much more productive when you come back, and you'll be more productive over the long term. If you're not a fan of walking, or if you need other break options, go sit on the couch and eat a bar of chocolate. If that's what you want to do, that's okay with me, right? Or go read something. I've taken to doing this more actually with my coffee. Instead of letting myself listen to podcasts all the time, that's still what I do most of the time. Sometimes I think, do I need more information in my brain? No. What I need is some escapism. And so I'll take my 11s, my coffee at noon, and I'll read my book instead. And I'll escape to somewhere else. Right now that's World War II, but it could be somewhere more pleasant most of the time. Escape from what you're doing. Take an actual break that's actually away from your work and especially your screen. And then, last one, number 6. Some of you will predict this before I finish the sentence. ... What's it going to be? What does J. stand for? Exactly as Carrie said. Just do one thing. Just do one thing. Not everything. You can't do it all at one time. That comparisonitis, right? We're not doing all of the things at the same time. Nobody is. I am not. Even all the things on my blog, they're happening at different times. And you read it all in one go and go, oh my gosh, I have to do all of the things. No, I don't even do all of those things at the same time. Just do one thing. Multitasking is a myth. Yes, Ellen. Except for a very small, minute percentage of the population, which you are probably not a part of. It's just probability. You probably can't multitask. So don't try. Just do one thing. And not just in the moment, multitasking, right? Single tasking. But do one project at a time. Try one new idea, right? Don't try and do everything. Okay, so those are the 6 starters for productivity as we head into 2021. First of all, define what productive is. Define what the end point is. Otherwise, you're never going to know what when you get there. Then have some email ointment, some email salve, and calm things down in that inbox and try to reply to things straight away. Delete all those emails you're not reading. Unsubscribe to the marketing emails that you're not opening. Avoid comparisonitis and FOMO. Try to stay away from it and know that everybody is not doing everything at the same time, and you need to do what's right for you and your students. Try having a shutdown or a startup ritual if you have difficulty switching off at the end of the day or getting into work mode at the beginning of the day. Take breaks, not just when you feel you need to, not just when you're melting, but before that. Have a ritual of taking breaks every day. And when you do that, try to get away from a screen and away from work. And then lastly, J. Just do one thing. Just one thing at a time. Make one change. Bring improv into your lessons. That's your one thing. Change your assignment sheet system. That's your one thing. One thing at a time. It compounds. It builds up. And that's how you make real change in your studio.